The intergalactic market of Zoltran V was a spectacle of wonder and chaos, a nexus where traders, smugglers, and explorers from every corner of the galaxy came to barter and trade. The air buzzed with the hum of alien machinery and the guttural tones of countless dialects. Jack Sanders, a lone Earthling traveler, wandered the maze of stalls, his eyes scanning the wares with a mix of curiosity and detachment. This was his 5th visit to Zoltran V, and he knew to keep one hand on his credit pouch and the other near his energy blaster. Jack was a collector of artifacts and oddities, a man whose passion for the unexplained had driven him far from his home planet. Still, even among the bizarre and rare, he found little that truly captivated him. That changed when he stumbled upon the grand stage of the auction house. The crowd was packed tight, an eclectic sea of species. Some were towering reptilian giants with scales that shimmered like molten metal, while others were diminutive, insectoid beings that chittered as they placed their bids. The auctioneer, a slimy amphibian with a voice amplified by a vocal modulator, croaked the details of the latest item up for bid, a warrior Amazon. Jack's interest was piqued as the curtain was drawn back, revealing the captive. She stepped forward, her posture radiating defiance despite the heavy restraints that encased her wrists and ankles. The woman was tall and powerfully built, her skin a bronze hue that glimmered under the harsh lights. Her crimson hair fell in thick waves, and her golden eyes swept across the crowd like a predator sizing up its prey. Gasps rippled through the audience. The Amazons of Amazora were legendary not just for their fighting prowess, but for their fierce independence and unyielding spirit. They were warriors bred in the fires of battle, resistant to subjugation. Capturing one alive was rare, and selling one was an event of unprecedented magnitude. The auctioneer began the bidding with a figure so astronomical it drew audible exclamations from the crowd. Jack watched as the price climbed higher and higher, each bid placed by some wealthy alien eager to acquire the Amazon as either a bodyguard or a trophy. He felt a pang of disgust at the scene. He had no love for slavery, even in a galaxy where it was as common as trade negotiations. The Amazon locked eyes with Jack, her gaze a silent challenge. It was as if she dared him to bid, to join the ranks of those who saw her as property. But there was something else in her eyes too, a flicker of exhaustion, of a warrior who had been fighting for far too long. In that moment, Jack made his decision. 100 million credits, he called out, his voice cutting through the din. The crowd fell silent, all eyes turning to the unassuming Earthling who had dared to place such a bid. Even the auctioneer paused, his bulbous eyes blinking in surprise. 100 million credits from the Earthling, the auctioneer exclaimed, regaining his composure. Any challengers? The crowd murmured, but no one dared to match the figure. With a final thump of the auctioneer's gavel, the deal was sealed. Jack stepped forward to finalize the transaction. The Amazon was brought to him, her chain still binding her as she stared him down. Up close, her presence was even more imposing, and Jack felt a twinge of doubt. Had he bitten off more than he could chew? You think you own me now, Earthling, she growled, her voice low and filled with menace. Jack met her gaze evenly. No, he replied. I don't believe in owning people. I just couldn't leave you to them. Her golden eyes narrowed, her expression unreadable. Then what do you want from me? Your freedom, he said simply. And maybe a chance to talk. The universe is vast, and I think we could help each other. The Amazon snorted, her skepticism evident, but there was a flicker of something else, a sliver of curiosity. My name is Arya, she said after a moment. If you're lying, I'll break you in half. Jack allowed himself a small smile. Fair enough. Let's get you out of those chains first. As the crowd dispersed and the two unlikely allies departed the market, neither realized that their meeting would set in motion a chain of events that would change the fate of galaxies and each other forever. The interior of Jack's ship, the Odyssey, was a far cry from the bustling chaos of Zoltran V. Sleek, minimalist, and designed for both comfort and utility, it was Jack's sanctuary, a place where he could strategize, research, and occasionally sleep when the intergalactic void allowed for a quiet moment. Now, it was also the temporary home of Arya, the Amazon warrior whose presence filled the space with tension. She sat across from him in the central lounge, her posture rigid, her golden eyes scrutinizing every detail of her surroundings. Jack had removed her restraints immediately after boarding, earning a skeptical glance from her, though she had not made any moves against him. Yet. So, Jack began, leaning back in his chair, I'm guessing this wasn't the way you envisioned your week going. Arya's lip curled into a humorless smirk. An astute observation, Earthling. Jack, he corrected. My name's Jack Sanders. And for what it's worth, I meant what I said back at the auction. I'm not interested in owning you. Then why did you bid on me? She demanded, her voice sharp as the edge of a blade. Was it pity? A whim? Or are you some naive fool who thinks you can tame me? Jack's expression hardened. None of the above. I've been to enough places in this galaxy to know how those people would have treated you. Slavery disgusts me, and I wasn't going to let them have you. That's all. Arya's gaze softened slightly, but her wariness remained. You say you freed me. Yet here I am, on your ship. Where am I supposed to go now? Jack leaned forward, clasping his hands. That's the thing, I want to help you get back to Amazora. From what I've heard, your planet's been hard to find since the Krezak Empire's occupation. I've got the resources to help, but I'll need your cooperation. Arya tilted her head, studying him as though trying to discern his motives. And what do you get out of this? Generosity? A partner, Jack said simply. I'm an explorer, a researcher. I travel the galaxy looking for lost artifacts and forgotten histories. I've been doing it solo for years, but someone with your skills and knowledge could make all the difference. The Amazon laughed, a short, bitter sound. You want me to be your bodyguard? No, Jack said firmly. I want you to be my equal. I'm not looking to give orders or play the hero. We'll help each other. For a long moment, silence stretched between them. Arya's golden eyes bore into Jack's, her expression inscrutable. Finally, she leaned back and crossed her arms. If I agree to this partnership, what's stopping me from killing you and taking this ship for myself? Nothing, Jack admitted with a shrug. Except maybe the fact that you'd still be stuck trying to navigate the galactic grid without the right access codes. Plus, I have a feeling you're not the type to betray someone who's trying to do right by you. Arya snorted but didn't deny it. You're either incredibly brave or incredibly foolish, Jack Sanders. Maybe both, he said with a grin. So, what do you say? Deal? She stared at him for a moment longer before extending her hand. Deal. But if you cross me, Earthling, I'll make you regret it. Jack clasped her hand without hesitation. Her grip was like iron, a testament to her warrior strength, but he didn't flinch. Fair enough. Welcome aboard the Odyssey, Arya. The days that followed were an exercise in adaptation. Arya took to the ship's controls and weapon systems with an almost instinctive ease, though she chafed at the lack of combat. Jack, meanwhile, found himself constantly impressed and occasionally unnerved by her efficiency. She was a force of nature, her every movement precise and purposeful. But there were challenges, too. Arya's warrior mindset often clashed with Jack's preference for negotiation and exploration. Their first mission together, a trek to recover an ancient relic from a derelict space station, highlighted their differences. Where Jack wanted to analyze and plan, Arya preferred to charge in, blades drawn. The resulting chaos ended with the relic in their possession, but the station's automated defenses thoroughly destroyed. You're reckless, Jack said later as they sat in the Odyssey's mid-bay, patching up minor injuries. And you're too cautious, Arya shot back. If we had followed your plan, we'd still be debating the best way in. Fine, Jack conceded with a sigh. Maybe we balance each other out. Maybe, she agreed, though her smirk suggested she wasn't fully convinced. Despite their differences, a mutual respect began to grow. Jack marveled at Arya's strength and discipline, while she found herself grudgingly impressed by his intelligence and resourcefulness. Slowly, the walls between them began to crumble, replaced by something that resembled trust. One evening, as they drifted through the black void of space, Jack handed Arya a datapad filled with star charts and intelligence reports. "This is everything I've got on Amazora and the Krizak occupation," he said. "It's not much, but it's a start." Arya took the datapad, her expression softening. "Thank you, Jack. For everything." "Don't mention it," he said, leaning back in his chair. "We'll find your home, Arya. And if we run into trouble along the way, well, I can think of worse people to have watching my back." She gave him a rare smile, small but genuine. "Likewise, Earthling." As the stars stretched endlessly before them, Jack and Arya began to forge a bond that would shape the course of their journey and their destinies in ways neither of them could yet imagine. The Odyssey drifted in the shadow of a massive asteroid field, its stealth systems masking it from the prying eyes of the Krizak Empire. On the ship's bridge, Jack and Arya pored over the holographic display of the Nebulan cluster, their faces illuminated by the faint blue light of the projection. "This," Jack said, pointing to a pulsing red dot on the map, "is the Krizak stronghold. Our intel says they're housing the artifact here, a weapon of some kind." Arya leaned in, her golden eyes narrowing. "And you're certain it's connected to Amazora?" Jack nodded. "I've cross-referenced everything we've found. The artifact is called the Obsidian Core. If the reports are accurate, it's some kind of energy amplifier capable of decimating entire planets. The Krizaks have been testing it on outlying worlds, and Amazora is next on their list." Arya's fists clenched. The thought of her people suffering under the heel of the Krizaks ignited a fire within her. "We destroy it," she said, her voice resolute. "Agreed," Jack said, though his tone was more measured. "But this isn't a simple in-and-out mission. The Krizaks are heavily fortified, and they're expecting resistance. We'll need a plan." Arya smirked, her warrior instincts coming to the forefront. "Then let's make one." The plan was audacious, relying on equal parts cunning and brute force. Jack would use his knowledge of Krizak technology to infiltrate their security systems, creating distractions and disabling critical defenses. Meanwhile, Arya would lead the assault, using her combat skills to neutralize any threats that stood between them and the artifact. As they approached the stronghold, the tension was palpable. The fortress loomed ahead, a massive construct of blackened steel and pulsating red lights, its spires jetting into the void like the claws of a predatory beast. The Obsidian Core was housed in the central chamber, protected by layers of security and legions of Krizak soldiers. "I'll take the infiltration route," Jack said as they suited up. "You handle the direct approach. Just try not to blow up anything too important until I give the signal." Arya chuckled, strapping on her plasma blades. "No promises, Earthling." The operation began smoothly. Jack's hacking skills proved invaluable as he bypassed the fortress's outer security systems with surprising ease. Using the ventilation ducts and hidden maintenance corridors, he maneuvered through the labyrinthine structure, planting EMP charges and cutting power to key sectors. Arya, on the other hand, took the more conspicuous route. She stormed the front gates with the ferocity of 1,000 battles, cutting through Krizak soldiers with precision and speed. Her plasma blades sang through the air, their glow casting ominous shadows on the walls. Though outnumbered, she fought with the determination of someone who had everything to lose. "Jack," Arya said through her calm, her voice calm despite the chaos. "I'm nearing the central chamber." "Status?" "Almost there," Jack replied, his voice strained as he worked to override the final layer of security. "Just keep them off my back for a little longer." "Take your time," Arya said with a hint of sarcasm. I'm only fighting an entire army here. Jack's breakthrough came just in time. As the central chamber's doors slid open, Arya burst in, her armor scorched but her spirit unbroken. At the center of the room, the obsidian core hovered above a dais, its dark surface pulsing with malevolent energy. Around it stood a squadron of elite Krizak guards, their weapons trained on the intruder. Arya, wait. Jack's voice crackled over the comm. The core, it's unstable. If it's damaged, it could take out the entire fortress. Arya gritted her teeth, assessing the situation. Then how do we destroy it? Give me a minute, Jack said. I'll try to trigger a controlled overload remotely. But you'll need to hold them off until I'm done. Understood, Arya said, raising her blades. The ensuing battle was a symphony of chaos. Arya moved like a whirlwind, her strikes precise and deadly as she engaged the Krizak elite. Each enemy she felled bought Jack a few precious seconds, but the odds were overwhelming. Even Arya's unparalleled skill could not hold them off forever. Jack, she shouted, deflecting a plasma bolt with her blade, how much longer? Almost there. Jack yelled. Just a few more done. Get out of there, now. Arya didn't hesitate. She launched herself toward the exit, dodging enemy fire as the obsidian core began to glow brighter and brighter. The Krizaks, realizing the imminent danger, scattered in panic. Moments after Arya cleared the chamber, a deafening explosion rocked the fortress, consuming the core in a blinding surge of energy. Back on the Odyssey, Jack and Arya watched the destruction of the Krizak stronghold from the safety of orbit. The fortress imploded, its fragments scattering into the void like ashes in the wind. Well, Jack said, leaning back in his chair, that was intense. Arya smirked, though her exhaustion was evident. It was worth it. The core is gone, and Amazora is safe. For now. Jack nodded, his expression somber. The Krizaks won't forget this. They'll come back stronger. Then we'll be ready, Arya said, her voice firm. They'll learn what happens when they threaten my people. Jack smiled. You know, I think I'm starting to get used to this whole warrior thing. And I might be getting used to having a partner, Arya admitted, though she quickly added, don't let it go to your head, Earthling. As the Odyssey set a course for their next destination, Jack and Arya shared a rare moment of quiet camaraderie. They had struck a blow against the Krizak Empire, but they knew their fight was far from over. Together, they would face whatever challenges lay ahead, their bond forged in the crucible of battle and strengthened by the trust they had come to share. The stars stretched infinitely before them as the Odyssey glided through the void. Arya stood at the ship's observation deck, her golden eyes fixed on the cosmic horizon. Despite the victory against the Krizak Empire, a storm of emotions brewed within her, a mix of pride, sorrow, and uncertainty. Jack approached silently, holding 2 steaming cups of synth tea. He offered one to her, which she accepted with a nod of gratitude. For a moment, neither of them spoke, the quiet hum of the ship filling the space. Thinking about Amazora? Jack finally asked. Arya exhaled deeply. Always. My people may be free for now, but the Krizaks won't stop. Their empire thrives on conquest, and Amazora is a prize they won't easily let go of. Jack leaned against the railing, sipping his tea. You've given them hope, Arya. That's more than they had before. And you're not alone in this fight. Her gaze shifted to him, her expression softening. You're right. I'm not. The silence that followed wasn't awkward, it was comfortable, a reflection of the bond they had built through shared danger and triumph. For all her strength and independence, Arya had come to value Jack's companionship. He had shown her a different kind of strength, one that didn't rely on brute force, but on intellect, empathy, and perseverance. The Odyssey's next destination was a frontier planet called Tarsus III, a neutral hub for diplomats, refugees, and rogue factions alike. Jack had received word that a Krizak informant might have information about future plans to target Amazora. As they landed in the planet's sprawling metropolis, the duo prepared for yet another delicate mission. The informant was a slippery Zelanian named Croth, a jittery alien with 6 eyes and a habit of glancing over his shoulder. In a dimly lit cantina, he spilled what he knew. The Krezaks were rallying their fleets and seeking out a new weapon, a relic older than the obsidian core, said to be buried on a desolate world deep in uncharted space. This could be the key to stopping them for good, Jack said as they left the cantina. Or the beginning of something far worse, Arya replied grimly. If this weapon is as powerful as they claim, it can't fall into their hands or anyone else's. Jack nodded. Then we find it first. The journey to the desolate world took weeks, during which Arya and Jack found themselves reflecting on how far they'd come. Their partnership had grown into something more, a mutual respect that bordered on friendship, and perhaps even a deeper connection they were reluctant to name. When they finally arrived, the planet was as foreboding as Croft had described. Its surface was a wasteland of jagged rock and endless storms, the sky a churning mass of black clouds lit by sporadic lightning. The ancient ruins where the weapon was said to be hidden loomed in the distance, half buried beneath centuries of sand and debris. Exploring the ruins was no simple task. Traps and puzzles guarded the inner sanctum, but Jack's sharp mind and Arya's keen instincts proved an unbeatable combination. Together, they navigated the labyrinthine corridors until they reached the central chamber. There, atop a stone pedestal, rested the weapon, a crystalline sphere that glowed with an otherworldly light. Arya felt a shiver run through her as she approached it, the air thick with an almost tangible energy. "What is it?" she asked, her voice hushed. Jack examined the sphere carefully, his brow furrowed. "It's not a weapon," he said after a moment. "It's a power source, something ancient and beyond anything we've ever seen. If the Krezaks get their hands on this—" "They won't," Arya interrupted, her tone resolute. "We destroy it. Now." Jack hesitated. "We might be able to use it against them. Turn their plans against them." Arya shook her head. "I've seen what happens when power like this is unleashed. It corrupts, Jack. It destroys. We can't take that risk." After a long pause, Jack nodded. "You're right." Together, they activated the ruined self-destruct mechanism, giving themselves only minutes to escape. The ground shook as the ancient structure began to collapse, but they managed to reach the Odyssey just in time. From orbit, they watched as the planet's surface buckled, swallowing the ruins and the weapon forever. Back aboard the ship, Arya stood once more at the observation deck, staring into the void. Jack joined her, his expression thoughtful. "You made the right call," he said. "Even if it wasn't an easy one." Arya nodded. "Power like that doesn't belong to anyone. Not the Krezaks, not us. If we're going to protect Amazora and the galaxy, we'll do it with our own strength." Jack smiled. "You've got plenty of that." She smirked, her golden eyes meeting his. "So do you, Earthling." As the Odyssey charted its course for the next leg of their journey, Arya and Jack stood side by side, their bond stronger than ever. They had faced the darkness together and emerged victorious, not just as allies, but as equals. Though the path ahead was uncertain, they knew one thing for sure: together, they could face anything the galaxy threw at them. And so, the warrior Amazon and the Earthling explorer set forth, their destinies forever entwined, ready to forge a new future among the stars.